All right, what's good, gamers? What's good? My name is Dr. Ryan Terrell, Psych Sensei, and welcome to the stream, baby. Happy Friday. We made it. We made it. I hope everyone's doing well. If you want to learn more about me and what I do, please visit my website, psychsensei.com. There you can get all the resources and links to all my socials, maybe TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Discord, Facebook, Instagram. You name it, I probably got it. And I even posted once on Chahun too. Good times. But today we'll be reading about the streaks and coping in League of Legends, and we'll call this segment "Reading with Ryan." And what we do in this stream is we take articles, we take research, we read them, we make them interesting, we let the ADHD run amok, get all the little nuggies for you, create a nice little conversation. Hopefully, have some takeaways at the end. Or at least we feel better about ourselves because we read some research and we feel superior than other people. One of the two. Hey, we'll take it. That's a win. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well. Let's any League of Legends players, this one is for you for sure. Well, let's jump into it, baby. Okay, I'm super stoked. All right, so this article is entitled "Streaks and Coping: Decoding Player Performance in League of Legends Using Big Data from Top Players' Matches." This is from Dang Krapanowski. I did it. Lee, Zhang, Buik, and Hamari. And this is coming out of China? This is coming out of Finland, which is kind of like China. Finland. And this article was published in 2024. So last year. So pretty recent. All right. Shall we? Man, today's been a funny day. Not gonna lie. Today's been a funny day. Never a dull day in a psychologist's life, let me tell you. Never a dull day. You meet all kinds of people, have all kinds of conversations that you thought you never would have. But when you do have them, you like it. All right. Contemporary culture, entertainment, and media have been sufficiently influenced by the advent of esports, also known as competitive video games, where people engage in competitive gameplay using electronic or digital systems. Unlike their traditional sport counterparts, these digital athletic endeavors place a heightened focus on strategic and cognitive skills rather than physical prowess. I'm just going to highlight that for me for later. It's true. But then again, it's not that esports doesn't have any physicality. It's just not gross body physicality that you would think of in typical sporting events or traditional sporting events. That's all. But the intensity, interestingly enough, of the fine motor is just as rigorous as gross motor in traditional sports. Fun fact. However, in various aspects, such as career development, social functioning, and psychological well-being, parallels have been observed between esport athletes and their traditional sport counterparts. For example, esport athletes can experience an enhanced sense of self-worth and an upsurge in performance due to a series of wins, or conversely, feel extreme stress following sequences of losses. I don't think that's just esports. I feel like that's all sports. I mean, for example, this probably even applies to like pick up basketball at 24 Hour Fitness. Or excessive stress resulting from repeated losses. In traditional sports, these sequences are known as winning and losing streaks, concepts that remain understudied in esports. Whoa, I did not know that's what they're called. No way. So if you win a bunch, it's called a win streak, and if you lose a bunch, it's called a lose streak. No way. All right, our current research delves into the hot hands phenomenon and its influence on performance using data from League of Legends. I did also read a hot hands a hot hands article that was talking about poker back in the day. All right, League of Legends is one of the most popular mobile games where players team up with 5 teammates to fight against opponents. Based on the extant literature, our study hypothesized that successful performance in League of Legends may include psychological momentum that influences subsequent gameplay. Therefore, we aim to explore how winning and losing streaks affect player performance strategy, decisions, and game engagement. This is your purpose. This research strives to offer empirical evidence of the impacts of streaks on players' behavior and performance in the context of video game and esports. All right, streaks and momentum. Kopin and Rob wrote that belief in streaks is commonly spread among humans. They seem to influence decision making and are identified to occur in many areas of daily life, from game or exam outcomes through births or to sports and even esports. For instance, through births, streaks, like if you have a girl, then a girl, do you expect the third one to be a girl? I guess so, right? That's a streak. Or if you have a boy and then another boy, you think it's a, I guess so. For instance, people often commit cognitive fallacies, believing that one lucky or unlucky occurrence increases the chance of another such event occurring, thus deciding to abstain from a behavior or to engage in it more strongly, with gambling being a prime example. You know what's really interesting too? I think there was another study, or no, maybe I saw something on TikTok where when this happens, you'll also see people get more religious or like start doing more rituals or whatever to like get the result they want. For example, maybe they stop washing their underwear, or maybe they have to eat this food, or they have to do this in a certain way because if they don't do it this way, then they're not going to get that win, you know? So it's really interesting how humans also do behaviors that they believe will give them the thing that they want, even though it has no relation to getting the thing that they want, you know? For example, human sacrifice to make things rain. But you gotta do the sacrifice, especially if they're a virgin, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta sacrifice that virgin. That's crazy. I didn't even think it'd come down to birth order, but I guess so. But then again, I think the other reason why we probably do this is because humans love patterns, right? They love patterns. They love picking out patterns. So that, I guess, streaks is just another way to find a pattern or see a pattern. In sports literature, usually two types of streaks are distinguished: winning and losing streaks. Winning streaks, or the hot hands phenomenon, refers to a belief that the phenomenon of a player during a particular period is significantly better than could be expected based on the player's overall record. To put it simply, it is a belief that success breeds more success, and it is propagated by athletes of many sports. Success do believe. Do I fall into this fallacy where success breeds more success? Maybe. But then I was like, is it a fallacy? Nah, that's a placebo. I'm thinking of placebo. Similarly, a cold hand phenomenon, otherwise known as a losing streak, is supposed to exist. The actual existence of those effects, however, remains controversial within academic circles, with some studies asserting its veracity while others write it off as a cognitive illusion or fallacy. Makes sense to me. Because I think the reason why this probably happens in academia is how do you test this phenomenon? How do you test this phenomenon consistently? It's almost impossible. All right, in esports or mobile games specifically, winning and losing streaks have garnered only limited attention. A notable qualitative study by Ku et al. Investigates players' perceptions of streaks. Most often, the streaks in League of Legends are perceived either as a number of consecutive won matches, constant rank changes in overall time when losses or successes are experienced, or win rate. As factors perceived to be potentially influencing winning streaks by the players, the author indicates individual and teammates' in-game performance, mentality, system randomness, or matchmaking. Okay, where's it? Players, in-game performance, mentality, and match. Interestingly, players seem to notice losing streaks more often than winning ones. Ain't that the truth, though? Ain't that the truth, though? Players seem to notice losing streaks more than winning ones. Little Starsky. Another study by White and Romano suggests that it is possible to model psychological momentum and tilt using existing match data to predict game outcomes, essentially showing that psychological momentum might indeed influence wins or losses in esports. Okay, another thing to think about though, is like, I wonder if your search, because apparently we notice loss streaks more, I wonder if our noticeability or focus on the loss streak makes it worse versus if you focus on the win streak and become more conscious, does that make you more anxious to keep winning? Or is it kind of like flow state? Once you realize that you're on a win streak, does that make it more likely for you to lose your next game instead of focusing on just playing the games, you know? Just... All right, I actually read this article. In esports, this performance can be measured by numerous indicators, including KDA or KDR. Okay, which shows how many times the players have eliminated others, about how often they. Which shows how many times the players have eliminated others, about how often they were eliminated. These performance indicators have been correlated with factors like motivation, win rates, and in-game economy. Interesting. With motivation, I guess. FF. Thus, considering the existing literature, we suggest the following hypothesis. Number 1. There will be a positive correlation between win streaks and subsequent match performance in League of Legends. What was this? What's this hypothesis? Yes. I mean, it has to be, right? Basically, you're saying when win streaks goes up, match performance goes up. Yes. Like, why? We need these studies. We need these studies for foundational records. We need them. We need them. We need them. We need them. As a gamer, though, what? We need them. We need them. We need them. We need them. Okay. What do you think, chat? Do you think that there's a positive correlation between win streaks and subsequent match performance? Do you think that when people go on win streaks, their match performance also increases? Probably. That's my guess. Yes. Let's read the future. I believe so. What do you think, chat? All right, here's hypothesis 2. You ready? There's a negative correlation between losing streaks and subsequent match performance in League of Legends players. Okay, what they're saying here is the converse. When you start losing, when losing increases, your performance decreases. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think that's based on anything. I have no idea. We need these studies. We need this study. Okay. I can do it. Okay. I'm sorry. The 2 hypotheses are killing me. What? I mean, yes. Why is that even a hypothesis? I feel like that study could have been done in traditional sports. What? There's good things in here. I know it. Okay, motivation and coping. Winning can enhance one's motivation, making the person believe that with each successful performance, success becomes more attainable than before. I mean, that's true. That is confidence. That's confidence. You need this. This is true. Because if you can see that you can do it, you're more likely to do it again and again and again. Take that shit to the bank. This can be attributed to the fact that maintaining this streak can be perceived as a reward in itself. Sure. Being a strong external motivator. You know what's even crazier than this? When they say, like, oh, maintaining the streak can be perceived as a reward in itself. Just think. The first company that I noticed do this was Snapchat. Brilliant. They've created a commodity out of nothing. What I mean by that is I believe Snapchat was one of the first social media apps to add streaks with you and your friend. And then I remember at the time, it was probably like 2017. I was working in Kapaa, and I saw this kid snap something in our session, just like the ground, to send to his friend. I was like, dude, what are you doing? That was like a nothing picture. He goes, yeah, I know, but I gotta keep up my streak. I was like, that's genius. They've created this thing called a streak where you need to open the app and engage with somebody to maintain the streak. And I was so curious. I was like, hey, what happens if you lose your streak? He's like, man, I've been really good friends with this person, and we have this streak going on for like 100 days. And if I break it, like, are we even friends? I'm like, oh my God. Not only is there value in the streak, but now there's a social exchange between the streak and what it means. That's so wild. And then I guess in the same kind of way, right? With the streak and the rank and stuff, not only is it like a reward to obtain the certain rank, but also there's a social thing with the rank that you have in League of Legends or your game, and a sense of identity, a sense of better thanness, you know what I mean? So like, I think it's so smart that games have created something like this, streaks and whatever. It's like, that's so smart. Deceptive, but smart. But yeah, streaks for Snapchat. That's so brilliant. Okay. This can be attributed to the fact that maintaining a streak can be perceived as a reward. The desire to continue winning a winning streak can not only drive individuals to put more effort and practice, but can, for instance, lead to an increase in self-efficacy. Self-efficacy meaning confidence that I can do it. Essentially, as a streak becomes a tangible goal, the fear of ending it can push individuals to strive harder than they might under normal circumstances. Okay, essentially, the streak can as the streak becomes a goal. Essentially, as the streak becomes a tangible goal, the fear of ending it can push individuals to strive harder than they might under normal circumstances. I wonder also if the converse is true, where yes, what they're saying is if somebody enjoys the streak and that's the reward in itself, I wonder if the pressure of maintaining the streak also makes people go boom. Because if you, for example, if you overvalue the win, then you're not present in the game to do the things that you need to do to win the game. Instead, you're just focused on the outcome instead of actually achieving it. And if you're too focused and overvalue the outcome, typically, because you're not focused on achieving the outcome or what's happening in front of you, you make mistakes or you do things that aren't conducive to you achieving your wanted outcome. And instead, the opposite happens. In this case, you break a streak. So I wonder if it's the reason for this part is, or the reason that it can push you is because, yeah, that's the reward you want to achieve and keep the streak going. But I wonder too, if you overemphasize the streak and what it means to you, if that makes it more likely for you to snap your streak. Because then now we're talking about perception, right? This is a perceptual issue. So I guess from that perspective too, if you are winning or you're on a win streak, I think it might just be best that you enjoy it, baby. We don't need to like, oh my God, I'm on a win streak. No. Just enjoy the streak that you're on. We don't need to make conscious notes about the streak. Just be streak, enjoy streak, live streak. You know what I mean? All right, from a different perspective, a winning streak can boost one's intrinsic motivation by tapping into the psychological principle known as psychological momentum. Ooh. Look, now we're getting psychology. This concept is understood as gaining a psychological power that can transform an individual's self-perception, enhance their motivation, their perception of others, and even how others perceive them. What? Okay, this is not. I thought this wasn't exactly how I thought they were going to define it, but let us read on. This momentum can impact both the individual's performance and that of their opponents, thereby creating a zero-sum game in competitive scenarios. That is, the psychological advantage is gained. The psychological advantage is gained in an intersection of one's own successful performance and the unsuccessful performance of others. I see. Okay, I can see that. So, depending on how you're doing or how bad you're doing, if you're doing really well, that's gonna be like yay. But if somebody's doing bad, boo. But because it's like a two teams competing, it will be zero sum because of the yin yang of it. There must be a loser and there must be a winner. Okay. Of course, this definition relates to situations where competition exists. However, momentum might be experienced in situations where performance success is not socially embedded. For instance, video games players might play single-player games where there's no competition. Most role-playing games are such games. Or momentum might be gained while learning. I can see that. An interesting example of that was recently provided by Hyun and Ida, who explored the effects of win streaks in Duolingo, a gamified language learning application. Thus, it also brings an important aspect of psychological momentum. It is not only applicable in sport contexts. Regardless, Iso Aola and Dotson assert that psychological momentum functions as a bridge between consecutive performances, whether successful or unsuccessful. I wonder if they're also going to say that, like, so it's psychological momentum. It's like, okay, if I lose, like, it's a directional momentum, either positive or negative. Well, that's at least what I'm thinking from this passage, where it's like, okay, if I'm winning, my psychological momentum is going to go to more winning, versus if I'm losing and I'm seeing be unsuccessful, I might even have lower self-efficacy. I'm not sure if I can do it, and then the momentum goes into the negative, and I start losing more games. Mayhaps. Losing, on the other hand, can lead to an increase in stress, unpleasant emotions, or reduced belief in self-efficacy. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Oh, no. It can also undermine an individual's confidence and motivation. There. However, losing a game or a failure does not necessarily hold an inherent destructive influence over a perception. It is how one copes with a loss. In our case, a losing streak that will have long-term effects. Ah, okay. I like that. I will highlight in a different color because I think that's really important to say. And what I like about what they said is, like, the loss itself doesn't matter, but it's the meaning making or the coping, the doing after the loss that affects people and their sense of confidence. So it's the event. The loss is just an event, but it really matters what you do from this event, how you manage this event, what this event means to you, that actually makes the loss significant or not. Coping strategies, that is, ways to manage stressful situations or deal with emotional distress, can be roughly split into those that are adaptive and those that are not. They'd say adaptive versus avoidant, I believe. I will write that here. And basically, the difference between adaptive and avoidant is adaptive behavior is like an active coping strategy where you are doing something to kind of compensate or prepare for that thing to meet your challenge. So I'm thinking, like, okay, an adaptive coping strategy for stress, if this test is gonna come up, is I'm going to go and study an hour every single day to take the test. And that's a coping strategy. That's an adaptive one because I am doing something active to decrease my anxiety, aka study for the test for an hour every single day. Avoidant is kind of how it sounds. An avoidant strategy, what they would say are those that are not. So a non-adaptive strategy, avoidant one would be an avoidant strategy is it's really hard for me to sleep thinking about the test. So whenever I think about the test, I'm just gonna go drinking. I'm not gonna think about the test. I'm gonna just, be anxious and not do anything, no studying. So by doing this avoidant behavior, typically, even though it may make me feel better, my anxiety may feel better because I'm drunk or I'm not thinking about it. When it actually comes to dealing with the thing, it makes it worse because I haven't been actively dealing with it and I'm actively avoiding it, which probably makes my fear come true. I'm loco. All right. Okay. They include different cognitive, positive appraisal, and behavioral seeking support approaches that can be focused on avoiding the issue or confronting it. Right. They're just defining adaptive or maladaptive. Adaptive, sorry, or non-adaptive. But they're just breaking up that both these strategies, either adaptive or non-adaptive, can be cognitive, they can be behavioral. So an action or a thought, emotion. Adaptive strategies, we'll make this yellow. Okay, adaptive coping strategies involve... Okay. Adaptive coping strategies involve constructive actions that are supposed to help find new perspectives or experience failure and build upon it. Maladaptive coping strategies, in turn, usually exacerbate the negative impact of failure. And I believe the reason why they make this feeling of failure worse is because you're not dealing with it and you're trying to avoid the negative feeling. But because you're avoiding the negative feeling, you're not doing the behaviors or actions to actually cause the root of the negative feeling to not happen or not be so bad. All right. Such strategies can include, for instance, self-blaming, avoidance, or resorting to unhealthy or even dangerous behavior such as drinking alcohol or self-harm. Bro, it's like I said it before I read it. Okay. Find new perspectives. Exacerbate the negative impact of failure. Self-blame, avoidance. Why I think self-blame and avoidance make the impact of failure even worse is because what's the point? How does this help? Like, if I blame myself, but there's no actual, action to build upon what I've done or build upon the next game for success, and I just, beat myself up and there's no point to it, it's just gonna make this bad because I'm pooping on myself, I'm hitting me, and it's probably gonna make me do things to avoid me beating myself up. In traditional sports, coping is shown to be associated with athletic performance. Among athletes, adaptive coping strategies are rather common. These include increasing practice, focusing on goals, time management, or venting unpleasant emotions and remaining confident. Increasing practice. Are you crazy? We talking about practice. Maladaptive coping, however, is also common. Okay, maybe I should Okay. However, is also common. Maladaptive coping, however, is also common, like avoiding stressful stimuli. If coping is adaptive and well adjusted to the current situation, it is shown to increase performance, reduce anxiety, and induce positive emotions. It's so interesting though when you think about it. Why, in my experience, most people, it's so much easier to fall into non-adaptive patterns versus actually leaning into it and like doing the adaptive patterns. A parallel can be found in esports and video game research. Smith et al. Show that esports players may use coping strategies ranging from increasing practice to retaining, increasing practice or retaining, through building a rapport with their own teammates, to changing strategies or complete re-evaluations of possibilities. Coping strategies. Such a change of strategy could include changing the weapon used in FPS games, changing build orders in RTS games, or changing items bought, lanes, or champions used in MOBA games. In the case of our study, lane change and champion change were the only factors discerning through big data analysis as possible indicators of adaptive coping in response to a losing streak. So changing your strategy or changing your character. A change in strategy, such as switching to a different lane or champion, may provide a new perspective, or if a player utilizes the same strategy repeatedly, a perception of breaking a streak, thus, in a way, resetting their failures. Therefore, esports players are likely to change their strategies in the face of experience a losing streak. Similarly, as the momentum theory shows, if a streak or success is experienced, such as a lane or character switch, is such a lane or character switch is an unwelcome change, which could lead to failure. Therefore, in this case, esports players should be less likely to change the strategies. Consider the above. We suggest the following hypothesis. Players who are more likely to stick with the same champion during winning streaks. Players are less likely to stick with the same champions during losing streaks. Players are more likely to stick with the same lane during winning streaks. Okay, same lane, different lane during losing streaks. Same champion during win streaks. Same champion during losing streaks leads to decreased performance. Maintain the same lane during win streak win. That's good. Okay. So basically, they're saying consistently playing the same champion in the same lane yeah. Okay, maintaining the same champion in the same lane is probably correlated to a win streak, whereas switching your champion, your lane, more likely of a losing streak and less KDA. That's one thing they're saying. Smith et al. Further indicated that not every player utilizes cognitive coping strategies. Many players tend to avoid situations that make them uncomfortable. That's true. That is true. For example, they might start playing passively to avoid making mistakes or simply refrain from discussing matters that are stressful for them if they consider playing in a team. Yes. The easiest method, it would seem, is to simply disengage from a stressful situation. Yes. In mobile games, such disengagement might include avoiding further competition by quitting the game, muting own in-game teammates, or even uninstalling the game. By doing this, players can either get rested or avoid the stimuli that made them tilted. Thus, we expect that if a player experiences a losing streak, they're more likely to take longer breaks between games in order to reset their streak. I wonder also if seeing the streak from a different perception of time. So, for example, I'm a 3-game losing streak today. And then tomorrow, if you lose 3 more games, do you say I'm on a 6-game losing streak total? Or do you say, okay, I lost 3 more games? I'm thinking my hypothesis would be that if you change the perception of how long your loss streak was slash is maybe the feelings or the emotions or the perception of the perception of the streak isn't as bad because you're technically resetting it, you know, from a different perspective. I'm just trying to see, like, if, I don't know, for you, chat, what do you think? Do you think it's the perception of the streak or the actual streak itself that makes it worse? Like, for example, is it a 6-game losing streak is bad, but is a 3-game losing streak today better? I mean, both are losing streaks, but I mean, what hits for you? I think it's also funny when they said, oh, just like right here, when they say like freaking uninstall the game. Whoa. Uninstall, I'm done. Reset my streak and my game. It's over. In turn, when a player experiences a winning streak, they probably avoid taking longer breaks between games to not lose the momentum. Therefore, we suggest the following hypothesis. Players will take a longer break between games as their winning streak increases. Players will take longer winning streaks between their games as their losing streak increases. So now they're talking about breaks. Okay, perfect. Great hypotheses. Now let's see what they did. Okay, so they used League of Legends API. They scraped the most recent 20 matches from the top 3% of players. Damn. Top 3% of players, and there's still 29,898 players. Wild. And this is Korea. So you can take this shit to the bank. Yeah, and they chose Korea because they're the best. Duh. Okay. Then they cleaned it. Okay. Wow, that's nuts. Wait, so they cleaned it. They looked at the streak, if there was any. -13, +17. Damn. Can you imagine going on a -13 streak, just losing 13 games in a row? That, my friends, is cognitive fortitude, man. This is mental resiliency. If you can go 13 games in a row losing and you still play, that is cognitive resiliency, mental resiliency. And I'm wondering, how resilient are you, chat? What is the maximum games you've played? And that red carpet gets rolled out, how long is it? 13 games long? 14 games long? What is the longest losing streak you've snapped? That's what I'm curious about. And then how strong is your mental that you were able to snap that? Let's go. Crazy. I don't think I could do it. 13 games, I think I might uninstall. For sure. Never come back. Okay, so looked at streaks, performance. Oh, they looked at KDA. Okay. Or the KDA ratio. They looked at time. And they looked at the champion. Change the lane and he changes the champion. Nice. Okay, let's see what they found. Okay. To test H1, we investigated the relationship between players, number of winning and losing streaks, and their subsequent match KDA. The correlations were very small for both winning streaks, 0.06, and losing streaks. Okay? Given these minimal effect sizes, both H1A and H1B are not supported. Which one? H1A. H1A. Okay, so these are both not supported by the study. There is no positive correlation. There is no positive correlation between win streaks and subsequent match performance. And there's no, like, there's none for losing or winning. Okay. The test hypothesis 2 examined the relationship between players winning and losing streaks and their likelihood to play the same champion or the same lane in the subsequent match. The correlations were very small for both win streaks and playing the same champion and lane, suggesting that players on a win streak are only slightly more likely to stick with the same champion and lane. For losing streaks, the correlation with playing the same champion and lane were also small, indicating that players are slightly less likely to play the same champion and lane as their losing streak extends. Given minimal effect sizes, the hypothesis 2A through 2H2D are not strongly supported. Okay. All right, so even though they're slightly supported and they're small, not likely. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. When investigating the influence of players, when investigating the influence of playing the same champion during winning streaks on KDA, players who did not change champions had a slightly higher mean KDA than those who did, with a mean difference of negative 0.328. Similarly, during losing streaks, players who did not change champions performed better than those who switched, with a mean of that. Okay. So it's important because interesting. For lane consistency during win streaks, players who did not change lanes outperformed those who switched, with a mean difference of that. During losing streaks, maintaining the same lane resulted in better performance compared to changing lanes with a mean difference of negative 0.419. Okay. Huh. I guess consistency is key then, huh? In conclusion, sticking to the same champion and lane during both winning and losing streaks is associated with improved performance. Thus, H2E, H2G are supported, and H2F and H2 are okay, and show the opposite effect. Okay. Same champ, same lane. Write that right there. Okay. Interesting. The study also examined how winning and losing streaks correlate with time interval between the next game. Before the next game. The correlations were small for both winning streaks and losing streaks. This suggests that players tend to take slightly longer breaks before their next match, as their players tend to take slightly longer breaks before their next match as their number of consecutive wins or losses increases. Given these minimal effect sizes, the practical significance of these correlations is limited, indicating a weak relationship. Thus, these are not strongly supported. Okay. Analysis sought to determine the time interval between games is related to performance as measured by KDA. After players have experienced a losing streak, their correlation was very small for the relationship between time interval and KDA following a losing streak. This suggests that taking a longer break between games is very okay. This suggests that taking a longer break between games is very slightly associated with improved performance after losses. Similarly, the study investigated the relationship between time interval and KDA following a winning streak. The results showed a non-significant correlation, suggesting no significant association between the time interval before the next game and performance after a series of wins. Okay. Whoa. Okay, what was it? H3A and H3B. H3A and H3B. And then they said these findings do not support H3C and H3D. Okay, interesting. Okay. All right, discussion. How do streaks affect players' next match performance? Online games are complex systems with numerous hidden mechanisms that are critical to players' experience. This complexity arises not only from the interplay of various character roles and team strategies, but also from the dynamic nature of in-game decision-making that directly influence outcomes. Each match outcome is influenced by multiple factors, including team composition, in-game itemization, and moment-to-moment tactical decisions, which collectively contribute to the KDA ratios of individual players. Therefore, the minimum correlation between streaks and KDA likely reflects the complex nature of performance determinants in esports, where no single factor, such as a win or loss streak, is solely decisive. All right, so they basically said there's a lot of factors that go into them. These win streaks and these loss streaks. Yes. Could you imagine, though, if you're actually able to boil down the game of like, do these things, experience loss streak, do these things, get out of win streak, or no, sorry, do these things, get on win streak, do these things, get out of loss streak. If this article would actually like tell you that, do this one thing, you know, that'd be so wild. But yeah, it's a lot of things that contribute to a win and a loss, especially in these games. All right. Changing champion lane as a strategy to cope with streaks. Persisting with the same champion during winning streaks exemplifies how players in League of Legends. Oh my god. One more time. Persisting with the same champion during winning streaks exemplifies how players in League of Legends capitalize on their recent successes to enhance future performances. This strategic choice is supported by our findings that show slight improvements in KDA for players who stick with a familiar champion, suggesting that familiarity and refining tactical execution can offer incremental performance benefits. Yes. Why do I think this? Is because basically what you're doing is you're controlling a variable. You're keeping consistent the lane and the champion that you play in. And because you are keeping these two factors the same, you are limiting the factors that you need to learn and master. For example, dang, I lost bot lane, so let me go play top lane. And top lane and their perspective is a lot different. The pace of the game is different. The goals of the game is different. So now you have to adjust to top lane perspective after going from bot lane. So by staying in the bot lane, or even just staying in the bot lane with the same character, you have the same pace of the game, the same range, the same abilities that you can practice. So even going from like Kai'Sa and practicing Kai'Sa and Kai'Sa mechanics and Kai'Sa range and Kai'Sa abilities, and then going to Jhin or Caitlyn, the range is different, the timing is different, the maybe even the items that you build might be different. So keeping factors consistent so you can focus on different things, because we don't have to focus on the things that we changed, but keeping things consistent, now we can focus on other things to give us little benefits to win the lane, to win the game. Versus I have to switch my entire perception of how to play the game and the timing of the game because I changed the character or position. What, bud? I feel you. Wanna come? Wanna come be stream dog? Where's mama? Where's mama? She's neglecting you. You feel abused. All right. Maintaining consistency not only bolsters a player's confidence, but also reduces the cognitive load involved in adapting to new characters, enabling deeper strategic focus and tactical precision. I said this, just maybe a little very clicky. This phenomenon is supported by broader esports research, which links strategic continuity oh my god, continuity, Jesus Christ, which links strategic continuity with sustained performance and reduced decision-making errors under pressure. Our study also highlights that maintaining the same champion during losing streak results in better performance compared to those who switch. Same champion, same lane. Consistency is king, my boys. This indicates that the benefits of strategic consistency extends beyond winning streaks and play a critical role in helping players cope with and recover from losses. Switching champions or lanes, often seen as a way to disrupt negative outcomes, does not necessarily translate into improved performance. I like that. All right, switching champions or lanes, often seen as a way to disrupt negative outcomes, does not necessarily translate into improved performance. This finding underscores the importance of psychological adjustment and suggests that maintaining a consistent strategy might help manage stress and might help manage stress and regain control more effectively than previously believed. Psychological adjustment, eh? The tendency for strategic shifts, although common, may not be as beneficial as sticking with known and comfortable gameplay dynamics, even during losing streaks. This behavior aligns with theories of psychological flexibility, which emphasizes adapting strategies in response to new information or failures as a way to manage stress and regain a sense of control. Psychological flexibility. I like that. Disengagement as a strategy to cope with streaks. Look at this disengage real fast. Look at this quit real fast. I mean, yes? No. Yeah? Alright. Our finding of H3 weakly supported that disengagement is used as a coping mechanism to deal with the psychological impacts of intense gaming sessions, such as anxiety and mental fatigue. In the case of winning streaks, players may take breaks to enjoy victories or simply to avoid the potential stress of losing a subsequent match, which could break their streak. For losing streaks, longer breaks might help players reset emotionally and cognitively, providing them a chance to return to the game with a clearer mind and reduce frustration. Enjoy victories. The relationship between time interval and subsequent performance was not found from our results based on a very small or no effect size. This might be because we did not consider the effects of outliers. Maximum time intervals in our data was 133.6 days. That's a big time frame, man. We slightly disengage while slight disengagement might help players recover from fatigue. A few months disengagement can lead to a decreased familiarity with the game mechanics and lag in understanding new updates. Yes. Okay. So, not really a disengagement didn't really help, I guess. That's it. That is it. Wait. They didn't find this? H1? Players that didn't feel better? Yeah. So, from this article, I think the number one takeaway is consistency is key, either on a winning or losing streak. So unlike most players, so what this means is if you're experiencing a win streak, you're probably playing the same champion in the same lane and you're crushing it. But if you're on a losing streak, try not to switch your lane or switch your champion, because you're just increasing cognitive load to now adapt to the new lane and the new champion that you're trying to win in. I think if you can keep things consistent, at least you don't have to try to figure out a new pacing of the game, a new way of thinking of the game, a new perspective of the game, and instead you can just practice the things that you really want to practice and get better at. Although changing the game mentally for you might be a reset or might help you take a new perspective, it doesn't seem that the benefit of shifting outweighs the consistency of what you're doing in a role or in a position or in a character. Although also the purpose might be meant to mentally reset yourself, you may not do that. Speaking of mental resetting, it seems that longer breaks for losing streaks might be more effective, whereas breaks for win streaks don't really matter, I think it said. Yeah. I think the other thing, though, that's really interesting would be the perception and the value that you hold in a win or a loss, and then the streak of wins or losses. And I think the meaning making that you make out of the win or loss streak either makes you more vulnerable for the loss streak to continue, or might even endanger your win streak if you overvalue what the streak means versus enjoying that you have the streak in general. I think that's really important. Or I'm even wondering for you, what happens when you notice that you're in a win streak? How does that affect your ability to play? Or how does that affect your focus? Or how does that affect closer games? Does it make you more distracted? Or does the win streak motivate you to keep playing and be more intentional in your games? I'm not sure. But that's something you can answer for yourself. I just really think it's really, really interesting that it's important to be consistent in the position and the role that you're playing. And that contributes more to your win or loss streak than anything else. So, from that perspective, that doubles down and reinforces learning in the game, the concept of the concept of cognitive load and cognitive flexibility in your game, and how can we create avenues for you to learn your game, build up your cognitive resilience, and by doing so, build your cognitive flexibility because you have a firm foundation, either in the lane or in that character, to be creative in. You know what I mean? So, if you're on a win streak, keep going. Don't change anything. And if you're on a loss streak, keep going. Don't change anything because you're trying to limit cognitive load. Fascinating. All right. Well, those are the takeaways for me in this article. I hope you learned something, at least one thing. And if you want to learn more about yourself or more things, visit my website, psychsensei.com. There you can find all the resources. We can hang out. And while you're there, please fill out a free consultation form and you and I can sit down, figure out where you want to go and how you want to get there. But yeah, please follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of it. All those sites. I'll be back next week, Tuesday. I'm trying to get some more content out every day, but please be patient or please like my shit so I can keep going. All right, friends. Well, please be safe. Please be warm. Hug your loved ones. Remember, stronger mental wins, baby. Have a good time. And mwah, love ya. Bye.